Alrighty. My name is Zachary Carrier, and this is my presentation on genetically modified foods. What are GMOs and how common are they? So, GMOs are used widely in U.S. agriculture. Um, More than 90% of U.S. grown corn, soybeans, and sugar beets are genetically modified. So, that's a lot of food across the country that just a lot of those ingredients are used in food you eat every single day. Um, GMOs increase crop efficiency and productivity. So, you know, these these foods being genetically engineered, it gives them they're a lot more efficient because they're able to grow faster and they're able to, mass produce these, crops that are essential in almost every food you eat. So, safety of genetically modified foods. A lot of major organizations will tell you that GMOs are safe. There's been countless studies. The USDA and the World Health Organization have all come to the conclusion that eating genetically modified foods does not really pose any health risks. Um, and all different, genetically modified organisms undergo a bunch of extensive research before they're approved for the public. GMOs also do pose a bunch of different economic benefits. GMOs allow super high yields even on small plots of land. So, like I said, kind of tying back to that efficiency thing, you're able to get a lot more food out of a small piece of land, right? Because you're able to grow them a lot faster. You can use the land again in a shorter period of time. And, if you just have less area to farm with, you can get a lot higher, product. Um, right here with this quote: on a small piece of land, farmers can harvest bumper yields because the technology has already taken care of issues like insect infestation and crop susceptibility at the gene level. And again, these higher yields lead to just lower prices for consumers because if the more product you have, the price is going to go lower. Um, GMOs also significantly reduce the amount of pesticides that are sprayed. Typically, with regular crops, um, farmers will spray them a lot. Right here, conventional eggplant farmers in Bangladesh are forced to spray their crops as many as 140 times during the growing season. Um, a genetically modified food such as a BT eggplant um, reduces the need for these pesticides by enhancing them with a natural protein that will keep the pesticides away. GMOs also pose improved nutrition. For example, golden rice in is produced in certain areas to counter um, a vitamin A deficiency. It's a special kind of rice that is enhanced with vitamin A. It's enhanced. It's with beta carotene, and it's mostly produced in areas, like I said, with people who don't have as much vitamin A deficiency, and it's reducing the amount of vision loss that's happening in the area just because they're getting that vitamin A back because rice is a very common, food among people. Um, and people kind of look at genetically modified food being like this kind of new thing, kind of scary thing. But people have been, modifying these crops long before modern biotechnology. It's just this is kind of like a newer way of doing it. Um, Back in the day, farmers would save, the best seeds and would breed them with other plants to create more desirable crops, which essentially is the same thing. You're changing the genetics of the food, to benefit you and have beneficial attributes. The only difference is that the modern GMOs are a lot more precise and a lot more efficient and just better. GMOs also kind of tie in with climate change. As climate change, kind of gets worse and worse. We've seen weathers get a little bit more extreme. Um, and Uh, GMOs, well, like part of the GMOs can like help uh, these foods adapt to extreme weather. Um, gene editing can streamline their production processes to improve sustainability. Um, and also like it will just allow these crops to survive, things like droughts, floods, and constantly changing climates. And finally, environmental and safety concerns. A lot of people will kind of worry just about the long-term safety of GMOs, and they'll claim that these are uh, far from properly scientific and far from conclusive. And others argue that pests may evolve resistance and whatnot. But um, like I said before, these have all been studied, and scientists have come to the conclusion that GMOs are safe. In conclusion, GMOs offer many major benefits such as safety, nutrition, efficiency, and reduced pesticides. They're already being used throughout the globe, uh, like in mass numbers. And there's a ton of evidence out there to support the safety and usefulness of genetically modified foods. Thank you.